It was literally only a couple of weeks ago that Joe Biden was panicked, rushing full speed out of his basement to try and address the riots. He was desperate to frame this election around COVID. But the far left couldn't help themselves. They went nuts and started burning things down with near impunity because these progressive district attorneys would not do anything about it. Now, talk about backfiring on the left. At a time when they need every single vote possible, what are they doing? Ocasio Cortez says Ruth Bader Ginsburg's death should radicalize Democrats and make electing Joe Biden the focus, saying, I don't care if you don't like him. Poor choice of words. And I also got to say, AOC, you got millions upon millions of followers, but these people do not learn. The far left is driving people away. So here's why I bring up Joe Biden and his running out of the basement. They knew the riots were bad. They knew their internal polling was hurting. And Joe Biden was worried he had lost his message. He couldn't go after Trump in this one weak spot. Why? Because the far left are like the whiny babies who won't shut up. And the Democrats keep saying, okay, okay. So imagine you got a little kid running around smashing everything up. And now everyone's mad at you. It's like, dude, get a hold of your kid. Well, he's a unique snowflake. And the far left are radicals. They want to completely overhaul and replace the system. Most Americans don't want this. They just want jobs and healthcare. At a time when you need every single vote, because here's what the Democrats want. They want to stuff the courts. They want to give D.C. statehood and Puerto Rico statehood, add more senators. They want to dramatically alter the system. Okay, fine. I get it. You want to do that. You don't like losing. The last thing you should do is be calling for people to be radicalized. But I guess that's the plan, huh? So what do you think's going to happen when people see the radicals taking over the Democratic Party? The moderates are going to vote for Trump. The left-leaning independents and more right-leaning Democrats, and I don't mean like actual right-leaning, I mean among the Democrats, those who are closer to the center are the more right-leaning ones. They're going to vote for Trump because you've got them literally not only calling for riots, but for political radicalization. Here's a story from the Daily Mail. Now, I do want to say, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who are going to say something like, oh, but Tim, she's not really saying like radical in the sense of burning down everything like the far left does. I don't care what you think she means. I don't care what she was trying to say or what you think she was trying to say. What matters is that she literally said it. Now is not the time. I tell you what, though, man, they say never interrupt your enemy when they're making a mistake. Now, okay, I'll be not so hyperbolic in this. I don't want to view anybody as my enemy. And if AOC wants to call for this stuff, she's within her rights to do so. But I just feel like it's almost it's sheer absurdity that they know better by now, or they should know better. Doesn't matter. They want to make sure the Democrats lose now and for generations to come. Rep. Alexandria from the Daily Mail. Rep. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has said that the death of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg should radicalize Democrats, urging her supporters to vote for Joe Biden, whether they like him or not. Let this moment radicalize you, Ocasio-Cortez, a New York Democrat, said in a 40-minute Instagram live video posted late on Friday, which was viewed by more than 1.5 million people in 12 hours. Oh, what don't they understand? Okay. What did she mean by radicalize? I guess you could say that she's really just saying activate you. But radical means something specific. It means to take a more dramatic position to completely overhaul or change a system. And it's typically associated with people who get violent or take direct action. Maybe it was a gaffe and a big mistake. That doesn't matter. Maybe she really intended it. Doesn't matter. It's that 1.5 million people heard her say it. Let me tell you this. Not every single one of those people who watched that live stream is a radical or just some Democrat going, I will be radicalized. How many of these people are regular Democrats saying, oh, here's AOC giving a statement, heard her say this and went, yikes, man, I just don't want this. Maybe Trump's going to lose. Maybe the Democrats will take the Senate, the House, the presidency, and then stuff the courts, and then the Republicans lose everything. I tell you this, man, the Democrats got that advantage. They know that if they win the Senate and the presidency, they will pack the courts. What does that mean? Right now, there are 9 justices. They want to add 2 more so they can counter the 2 justices put on by the Republicans. Then you'd have 11. and they would just nominate whoever they want and put more liberals on the court. Some are saying 13, 15, just do as many as possible. Then we can dominate the court by packing it once we control the system. It's called civil war, man. It's political civil war. We're not at the point where people are, shooting each other or anything like that. And hopefully it never happens. But we're at a point right now where they're straight up saying we must take control of this government and overhaul the entire system. How many regular people want that to be the case? And how many regular people are going to say, dude, they've lost their minds? She says, quote, let this moment really put everything into stark focus, because this election has always been about the fight of and for our lives. And if anything, tonight is making that more clear to more people than ever before. It's earth-shattering, this kind of vacancy. She said of the spot now open on the nation's highest court, which opens a path for President Donald Trump to nominate a replacement for the liberal justice with the presidential election just weeks away. Let me read more of her quotes. She said, this kind of vacancy and this kind of tipping point is the difference between people having reproductive rights and the government controlling people's bodies for them, she said, referring to the fight over abortion. It's the difference between us having a future and our climate or not. And the timing of this vacancy is extremely unsettling and scary to a lot of people. Ocasio Cortez, the freshman leader of the so-called squad of progressive House Democrats, said that Ginsburg's death represented, quote, a tipping point, and urged her followers to action, saying, I need you to be ready. Ready for what? Radicalization? What does that lead to? We've already seen all of these people calling for riots. No president is the answer, she said. You are the answer. Mass movements are the answer. She encouraged her supporters to take action by double checking their voter registration, urging friends and family to vote, and volunteering their time and talent to organize for the election. Based on what she's saying, I think she's just trying to say activate people. And if that's the case, that with respect, I get it. You want people to wake up and go take action, to do the right thing and make sure you win your political fight. I totally respect that. The idea that Democrats, however, on Twitter and on social media are calling for riots and saying if they win, they're going to dramatically alter our system of governance because they don't like the fact that people voted for Republicans. Well, that's scary. And that's what radicalization really is. So forgive me if I don't give her the benefit of the doubt when she says, go vote and everything and be radicalized. Well, I know what the radicals do, man. The radicals go out and cause damage and they hurt people. And this is what you can expect. What do you think happens when you Google search Democrats too far left? Oh, yeah, here we go. CNN, half of Americans think Democrat Party is too far left. Obama warns Democrats against going too far left. Opinion, Democrats have swung too far left. Some friendly advice from Republican, Democrats shouldn't go too far left. Democrat candidates reject Obama's warning of going too far left. Will the Democratic Party go too far left? Yes. And AOC is using Ruth Bader Ginsburg to make sure that happens. Obama, come on, man. Don't Democrats love Obama? They do. He's got like a 97 approval rating to this day among Democrats. And they won't listen. They won't. They want to be radical. I think it's because AOC actually is a far left candidate. Of course she is. She's a Democratic Socialist, a card-carrying member. And it's remarkable. I don't know if you guys saw this viral video from 2018 of Tucker Carlson talking to Dr. Cornel West. A tremendous respect to both of these individuals. It was a brilliant conversation. And Cornel West basically said Democratic socialism is making sure that every person, regardless of race, color, whatever, will live with dignity and access to resources. Tucker Carlson said, if that's what it is, then I'm all for it. Clip. That's where it stops. It goes viral saying, aha, see, democratic socialism is amazing. Tucker Carlson agrees. And what they don't tell you is that democratic socialism is not social democracy. It's quite literally seizing the means of production. That's what socialism wants. When the public controls all of the means of production, they can't define where the means of production begins and where it ends. For instance, I have a camera in front of my face right now and a microphone in front of my mouth. Is this the means of production? Yes. I don't have a factory. I'm sitting in a room and I'm talking. I'm producing things using these tools. Should someone else own them? I've asked many socialists. I've got many different answers. That's what Ocasio-Cortez is all about. But democratic in front of that word means they're trying to coax you into voting for these things. And I respect that. I do. What's the alternative? Violent socialism? No, I don't want that. Jackboot authoritarian socialism? No. If you can convince people to hand over their rights, those people, unfortunately, were manipulated. And I think you will expect some violent resistance because It doesn't work. Socialism and communism don't work. But at least they're doing it through a nonviolent way. I, for one, think it's wrong to lie to people, mislead them into taking things and gaining power from them. I think the Democratic Socialists actually are in favor of this. They know they lie and manipulate. And I mean, that's the point of being a democratic socialist. Convince people to give up their rights to private property. They do not believe in private property. They've redefined the term saying personal property. What does that mean? Well, your shoes are your personal property, but your, I don't know, camera, I guess, would be the means of production. So anyway, without getting too much into this, and I want to move on to the next subjects, the gist is, forgive me if I don't believe AOC when she says that, you know, when she tries to make it seem like we just want people to vote. She says get radicalized for a reason. And we know what happens with radicals. From the Daily Signal, check this out. Black Lives Matter linked to 91% of riots over 3 months, study finds. They say the Black Lives Matter movement is linked to more than 9 in 10 riots across the country, according to a recent study. The U.S. experienced 637 riots between May 26 and September 12th, and 91% of those riots were linked to the Black Lives Matter movement, according to the U.S. Crisis Monitor, a joint project of the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project and the Bridging Divides Initiative at Princeton University. 49 states, not counting Washington, D.C., experienced riots that during that time period, the study found. California led the nation with 86 riots during that time, closely followed by Oregon with 79 riots during that time period, the data show. 7% of Black Lives Matter linked events have turned violent, according to the data. The project defined riots as demonstrations in which any demonstrators engaged in violently disruptive or destructive acts, violence, looting, vandalism, as well as mob violence in which violent mobs target other individuals, property, business, or other groups. Black Lives Matter linked events were defined as, quote, demonstrations that have a local BLM group involved when the main issue of the demonstration concerns the police killing of a specific black person, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, when the main issue of the demonstration concerns police brutality against black people in general, or when the demonstration is in solidarity with the movement in the USA against police brutality against black people. Black Lives Matter Global Network, the national arm of Black Lives Matter, has seen an explosion in financial support from celebrities and large corporations since George Floyd died, after a Minneapolis police officer knelt on his neck for more than 8 minutes, according to video from the May 25th incident. Some Black Lives Matter leaders have declined to condemn rioting and looting. In fact, many have actively supported it. Many, in Chicago, for instance, said that it was reparations. Right now, more than ever, the Democrats need to make sure they can muster up every single vote. I'm sorry, I don't think they'll be able to do it. From Fox News, Minneapolis business owners worry about being looted again as riots weigh on minds of voters. Business owners are concerned rioters might destroy what they've built for a second time. I'm sorry to hear it, man. I feel bad for a lot of these people, but I got out. That's why I'm in a new place. We're setting up a new studio. Things are slowly coming together. And I realize you got to get away from the cities. Everybody kind of knows it. The left is unhinged. They're out of control. Let them have their cities. Fine. You want to riot? You want to do your thing? It's all you. I'm out. But there are a lot of people that can't just up and leave. And they have businesses. In Minneapolis, these riots may lead to Trump winning Minnesota. He's already gaining favor in the Iron Range. This is an area in I believe it's northeast Minnesota, big union town. It's not union town, but like huge union area, a whole bunch of towns, all union Democrats. All of a sudden, they're endorsing Donald Trump. 6 mayors in the Iron Range endorsed Donald Trump. When you add the riots to Minneapolis, they moved to defund the police. Remember this? They moved to abolish their police department. Crime skyrocketed. And now the city council members are all freaking out saying, why aren't the police doing their job? And it's like, yo, because you moved to abolish them. So they're staggered. They're hurt. They're not capable of dealing with this stuff. So here's a story from Fox News. They say, as Minneapolis businesses struggle to clear rubble from their storefronts, business owners are concerned the rioters might destroy what they've built for a second time if they rebuild. Don Bliley, owner of Uncle Hugo's science fiction bookstore, just started demoing what's still standing of his store and clearing the rubble. But he says he may wait until after the trial of the 4 police officers charged with the death of George Floyd before rebuilding. Quote, If the mob does not like the decision of the jury, we could have rioting again. And I don't want to be burned out a second time. Bro, I'm sorry to say it, man, but they're calling for riots now over Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And if Donald Trump appoints a conservative Republican, someone like Amy Coney Barrett, a devout Catholic, they are going to burn everything down. They've told us this. They're not lying. They're being honest. Their politicians in Congress, AOC, say get radicalized. There will be riots. They are saying they're going to riot. And there is a riot planned for tonight in Portland. And I have to imagine it's going to be massive. It's going to be so much worse than we've seen. And I'm worried about it, man. I am. Especially when you see, like, in 1 week, the Proud Boys are going to be going down to the Portland area. This is a recipe for just absolute disaster. A disaster is an understatement. They say Bliley told Fox News his collection of over 100,000 rare sci-fi books, comics, and magazines burned, along with his, decades-long investment in the store. He estimates his damage is from rioters more than $1 billion. A rare collection of sci-fi books and magazines can never be replaced. No insurance, nothing. You can't get it back. And if he rebuilds, they're going to riot again, and they're going to burn it down again. And we've already seen some of these other videos, man. Some of these people are not rioting. They're breaking into, in Portland, I think, there was a toy store, a rare collectible store. They broke in, stole stuff, and fled. Just two people. It's just, some of these people are just criminals manipulating the circumstance. So when AOC calls for this stuff, it's irresponsible. Now is not the time to be saying start a riot. And now is not the time to be saying to 1.5 million people to get radicalized. I want to be fair and say maybe she just meant activated, but I'm sorry, man. It's a rock and a hard place. And while I can respect anyone saying activate, get political, fill out the paperwork and make sure you vote, that's fine. But radicalization, we've been arguing against this for so long. The New York Times, the New York Times and many other leftist outlets have said YouTube and Facebook, they radicalize people. It's bad. We got to stop it. I agree. Yeah, we want moderation, not radicalization. So this whole day is just more and more about what the Democrats are doing in terms of going off the rails, and a lot to do with Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I couldn't believe it when I saw an article where I don't watch her live streams. It's a call for people to get radicalized, man. When I was reading this story about Minneapolis, and I'm like, oh, this is an interesting story, because we can talk about how this might impact the Democrats in Minnesota. You want to tell me Joe Biden's going to win? I'm not buying it. I'm really, really not buying it. And maybe they'll cheat, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the country just likes the riots. Maybe regular people like watching everything burn down. Maybe regular people like watching AOC tell people to get radicalized. Maybe people like all of this. Or maybe they've had enough. I kind of think, based on my conversations with people, they've had enough. What was really surprising to me is in my normal course of business, I talk to a lot of media companies, and I always expect them to be leftists. I mean, because you look at I don't know if you guys saw Spotify employees are trying to get Joe Rogan canceled, saying oh, look what he did, look what he's saying. And, he had a transphobe on or something like that. And then I talk to these companies, and people say things like, man, why does YouTube allow you to do your thing? And I'm like, I don't know. But then I talk to people at Google, and they're like, you got a lot of fans here, man. And I think it's just, look, we want most people, I think, probably lean a little bit left on a lot of issues. But we don't want radicals. We don't want rioting. We just want healthcare and civil rights, man. It's funny because I remember, I think it was Kyle Kalinske who posted this meme. And it was like, I don't know, Joe Biden saying something. And then there was like the sad, what's the guy called? I forgot the name of the meme guy. But the really frumpy sad guy saying, all I want is healthcare. And I'm like, it's that simple, dude. It really is. But we can't even have an argument about healthcare when our cities are being burned to the ground. Because I'll tell you what, if I get sick, if I get, heaven forbid, some kind of appendicitis, there you go. That's a simple thing, right? Well, then I have to be like, whoa, I need to go to the hospital. But I can't even think about going to the hospital for any kind of ailment if someone's trying to burn my house down. If the hospital's being burned down, I don't think they're burning down hospitals. But the point I'm saying is, your immediate physical safety trumps your, emergency procedure. If I've got, let's say somebody has cancer and they need treatment for it. You can't go to the hospital if people are running around throwing firebombs at buildings. You're first and foremost, you got to protect yourself from physical danger in the immediate and then go to the hospital. So I think most regular people just want simple policy changes, like maybe a public option, maybe expanding Medicare. I think regular people that lean left are not hardcore far left progressives. They don't want a Green New Deal. They don't want to ban fracking. Most people don't know or care about it. People are concerned about the environment. They want to make sure that we're doing right for our kids. They want to make sure they can get a good job, and they want to make sure they can pay their medical bills. When AOC comes out and says get radical, and the far left calls for riots, you alienate everyone. And then you see the people of Minneapolis. What are they going to say? That's a Democrat stronghold. They're going to vote for Trump. Trump's the one who's calling for all of those things I just described. Trump's weak on healthcare, that's for sure. But this is, I can't say I'm surprised Democrats are spiraling. I'll leave it like that. Guess what the next segment's going to be about? Yep, Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Democrats, because Donald Trump has made the announcement. It's happening. And so is Mitch McConnell. Prepare for the fight of your lives. Maybe both politically, figuratively, and literally. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. over at youtube.com/Timcast. It is my main channel, and I will see you all then.